everyone, and welcome to another episode of JJ Talks. My name is Jonah and I'm once again here with my co-host, Josh. How you doing?
I am doing fantastic. It's been a great day. I got off work early. I had a Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich. We went over our first sponsorship ad, and it didn't take as long as I thought it would. and now we're here ready to talk about football.
Yes, looking forward to it. Today, we are going to be going over the AFC East, a division that obviously got a lot of headlines this offseason, mainly with the departure of Tom Brady, but we'll get to that. We're actually going to start with a different team, one that, people are kind of all over the place with their preseason expectations, and we're going to talk about the New York Jets. So I'm going to let you start with this one, since at one point they were your, preseason darling to possibly, push for a playoff spot. What do you think about the Jets, Josh?
Hey, that was spoken out of line by me. I'll give it that, okay? I completely ignored, football for a good week or two, and all of my senses were just knocked out of whack. I am back straight now. Jets are not a darling. Ultimately, I just have them going 4-12, and I know the Jets had a little hot streak at the end of the season last year, but not just them, but this whole division is played with the hardest schedules in the league this year. All four teams are in the top five as far as hardest schedules in the league. First being, God, who is it? The Patriots. Next being the Jets themselves. Then the Dolphins, and then the Bills. But all top five. Just given with that, it's going to be a bad year. They did have one of the best drafts, though. They drafted a much-needed tackle position with Mekhi Becton. And, they could have traded up to get someone maybe or traded back. But with the tackle position of where it was, I think they went off pretty good. Anyone that fell there was going to be just fine for them. The only other need that they had to address would have been the receiver position, and they did have Judy there. They did have Brandon Ayuk there. They also had CeeDee Lamb, who went to the Cowboys, but ultimately they decided just to go with a tackle, which I think is a very, very smart move. In the second round, though, they did take a receiver. They took Denzel Mims. Just fine. I think he's a perfect replacement for Robbie Anderson, who never really amounted to much to anything anyways. And then going forward, they got Ashton Davis. I think it's fine. I think it's going to be a good cover safety. And then they went and got the run back from Florida. How do you say his name? Michael Pirine?
Pirine.
Which is kind of odd because they do have Le'Veon Bell. He's not exactly the oldest running back. He's still pretty young. I guess middle ages as far as running backs go. But then they also added Frank Gore, who had the Adam Gase connection. The everlasting old man himself.
Yep.
Right now they are exercising Jamal Adams' fifth-year option. We'll see if that goes through or not. Whether or not he decides to play or not. But and also another signing was Joe Flacco. I love this signing. I guess ultimately it's not going to amount to much because they do have them going 4-12. But quarterback was a really, really big need for them. And not exactly the starting position, but when Sam Darnold went out with mono, the Jets had absolutely no hope at all. But Joe Flacco takes a massive pay cut by just signing this really low contract, and I think that speaks for just how much he loves football, if anything. You have a veteran guy who's a proven quarterback in the league, and probably at this point he's not a starter, but he's going to be one of the best backups entering this year. And I think the biggest question is going to be, is Sam Darnold have it now? And so it might not look good saying they might go 4-12, but some players can look good with that kind of record. Maybe he can pull off some amazing stats and prove that he's still a good quarterback. I think ultimately, though, at the end of the year, Adam Gase will be in the hot seat. and I'll leave off of that and go with you.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of the points that you made. A couple of other additions that they made. They signed Brashad Perriman from the Buccaneers, the speedster. I think he will be a perfect replacement for Robbie Anderson because Robbie Anderson was good for like one deep ball a game, it seemed. So I think Perriman will be a nice, just kind of plug and play for that role. And going more on Denzel Mims, a lot of people had him as like a late first, early second type of guy. And the fact that he fell so far in the second and the Jets were able to snatch him up when they still had a receiver need, I think was a steal. I think he's got wide receiver one potential. Obviously, he's got a little, refining to do. But I think with how the Jets are right now, they've got a semi-young team, and they're not expected to compete right away right now. So I think he's going to have time to develop, which is very nice. And another guy that they got very late, that kind of shocked me was Bryce Hall, the corner, in the
Yeah,
draft.
thank you for mentioning him.
Yeah, I think he could be a very, very nice pickup. I liked him a lot. I kind of had a third round grade on him. I think they got him in the fifth. And I think injuries have been the only thing that's kind of stopped him. And I think if he can just stay healthy, he could end up being, have the ceiling of a very good CB2 for that team. So I think he will be able to make a very nice impact early if he can stay healthy. But I agree with you. I mean, I think this team is better than I think their eventual record will show. I think they just have such a ridiculously hard schedule. Um, and I like their long-term outlook outside of Adam Gase, but as a team and a roster, I like it a lot. But I agree with you. Sam Darnold, I want to see him take another step. I think the O-line is not finished yet by any means, but I think it's improved. I think Mekhi Becton's a good pickup for them. I do think, but you could go back and forth between tackle or receiver as their top need. But I think if you can't keep Sam Darnold upright, then you have no chance to throw it downfield to any receiver. So
Right, because if Sam Darnold did go down, is Joe Flacco really going to is he going to get away from anyone trying to catch him?
exactly. So I think it'll be interesting to see how this team goes. But I agree with you. I don't have a very good record for them. I currently have them going 5-11, so
Okay,
only
so not
one
far
win
off.
better. Yeah, so and again, I think it's more indicative of their tough conference, tough division, more better way to put it, and their schedule. I think it'll be a good 5-11 if you can even say a good 5-11. I think they're going to show improvement from where they were last year. And I think they honestly can be competitive in a lot of games, but I think they'll probably lose a lot of close games. Um, but yeah, I also agree with you on the Adam Gase thing. I think after this, he's going to be on the hot seat. I think we can both agree he's not the right coach for that group. So I think we could see a coaching change this offseason with the Jets. But a, I think they're going to be a good, solid team, but end up with a bad record in the end.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm just kind of curious as to how long Adam Gase is going to get head coaching jobs in the NFL. He's just writing off this whole Peyton Manning success, and for some reason, teams keep on hiring him. How long is it going to be until a team finally goes, you know what, go away, shoo, bye?
Yeah, like I think he'd be decent as a coordinator. I just don't think he's fit to be a head coach.
Like it was fun whenever he went to Miami, and there was that whole meme of him being like looking like PC Principal from South Park. But now it's way out of hand. It's not even funny anymore. It's just he had the whole sniffing salt on the sideline thing beginning of last year. That was kind of fun. It's just all bad, all crap.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how the Jets do. But yeah, so the next team we want to move to is the team that everyone currently, or at least majority, project to be the favorites to win this division. And of course, as you may guess, we're talking about the Buffalo Bills, who made one of the biggest additions, I think, this offseason in acquiring Stephon Diggs from the Vikings for a first-round pick. They also got several other players. Mario Addison from the Panthers, I think, could be a nice addition. AJ Klein, Vernon Butler, Josh Norman, Darrell Williams. A nice few pieces there in free agency. They also got, and I love this pick for them. I think the Bills going into the draft
Please
was.
tell me that this is the biggest steal of the draft.
I think it has to be, because I I know AJ Epinesa had a not great combine. Okay, that's fine. He didn't test that well. However, to get him, because they already didn't have a first round pick, unless you want to count it as Stephon Diggs, then sure. But they didn't have a first round pick. So they go into the second, and their biggest need was edge rusher or defensive end just in general. And AJ Epinesa just falls into their laps. I think it's a perfect fit. I think it is a steal. I mean, there were countless people that had him mocked going in the first round. I love that pick for the Bills. Uh, yeah,
There was people saying that he was going to be drafted by the Falcons with their first pick, and I think we even had a couple of mocks like that.
yeah. I mean, I honestly, even when it got to 16, I was, again. We'll talk. I don't want to go too much in depth with this. I wanted the Falcons to trade back, but AJ Epinesa was one of the guys that I would have been fine with them picking at 16. So the fact that the Bills were able to get him when they did, I think was a phenomenal pick and a great way for the draft to fall to them.
Kind of hard for a team that didn't have a lot of needs, but losing Frank Gore isn't losing that much at this point in time. I have to look it up later, but I don't think he got into the goal line on any of those goal line carries at all. And Sean McDermott has already came out and said that Zach Moss is that replacement for Frank Gore. He wants Moss and Singletary to have this 1-2 punch combo. And I think having this replacement for Frank Gore, who could not get into the goal line, that's what Zach Moss is for. Zach Moss is going to be right for those goal line carries or those 4-from-1s. You absolutely need that 1 yard to get in. And I think this having any kind of injury concerns there, because he's known for having that rushing ability. And ultimately, whenever Frank Gore couldn't get in, it was Josh Allen led to do that. It might ruin Josh Allen's fantasy numbers, but I think getting Zach Moss was purposely for that reason.
I agree, and I think if as much as Allen's rushing ability is very helpful to that offense, I think Sean McDermott and that staff would prefer Allen to not run as much as he did, and for a few reasons. One, because that keeps him healthier, and two, it'll help him improve his passing, which I think everyone will agree that he needs to improve his passing and his accuracy in particular. So yeah, I agree. I really like the Zach Moss pick. Yeah, go ahead.
Between the Diggs trade, who do you think in that trade won?
I mean,
Because I think you and I would agree that normally Minnesota would have won that trade just because of the capital that the Bills gave. But given for the need, I think it's just fine. I think it's more even than what a lot of people like to say. And, picks aren't guaranteed commodities. And I think Stephon Diggs, given with Josh Allen's talent, he's not exactly accurate. And Kirk Cousins is more accurate than him. Kirk Cousins is one of the most accurate QBs in the league. But I think Josh Allen with Stephon Diggs is going to succeed because Stephon Diggs hasn't had that quarterback that can actually get the ball down the field consistently. I think Josh Allen can do that, and I think they're going to complement each other and help each other out. So ultimately, I do think the Bills won this trade by the slightest.
Yeah, I think if I had to give a winner, I would also probably say the Bills. However, I think it'd be like 51-49. I mean, it'd be so close because, like, on one end, on the Vikings end, with the way that the animosity going between Stephon and the rest of the organization, particularly like Cousins, it seemed like trading him away was like the only thing you could do. And to get what you got for him, especially after the DeAndre Hopkins trade between the Cardinals and the Texans, you got a first. I think you also got a third, or a fourth, something like that. You got multiple picks for him, and I think with the Vikings, they wanted to get younger. and they were able to do that with those picks. And with the Bills, they got a clear wide receiver one for Josh Allen to be able to throw to. A very, established receiver in this league, the one that's had multiple years of success. So I think both sides made out great. I think it was a great trade and one that was not lopsided, which we tend to see nowadays.
Yeah, and if we're going to argue like semantics, right? So Vikings got in this year's draft a first, fifth, and sixth. Okay, just how often do those hit? Like maybe is it under 10%? Maybe. But the first, even then, it's only like 50-50. And Bills got a proven receiver. So that's why I would give them the winning chance on this.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely I completely understand that. I'm a big draft guy, so I like being able to get multiple picks. That's why I like the Vikings draft so much because they got so many. And it's with the way the draft normally works, if just 5 of those hit for you, it's a successful draft. So, but again, I completely agree with you. The Bills got out of no matter what side you would possibly be on, the Bills got the one guy that is proven in this league because none of those draft picks are proven yet. They haven't even hit the field. So we don't know what they're going to be. Stephon Diggs has hit the field. He's had a bunch of success. I think it's going to be a great option for Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen has the arm to be able to make plays with Stephon Diggs. It's just about getting – there's no doubt on he'll be able to get the ball there. It's just, will it be there or will it be 10 yards to the left or the right? That's the question. How accurate will he be?
Well, assuming that they have the Bills winning this division, what do you think the record's going to be?
Let me check this. I've got them going 11-5 at the moment.
Okay, I have them going 10-6.
Yeah, so we're close. Also, just want to throw this out there. The other guy out of the draft that's kind of in the headlines right now, Jake Fromm. He had some recent comments that have kind of hit the news. I don't think either of us really expected him to make much of an impact in his first year anyways, but now there's a clear question of will he make any impact at all? Will he even be on the team? So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there so that we know what's happened in the news. And I think it'll be interesting to just see how the organization decides to take that.
Yeah, because I don't even think it was that much of a need. It's just the fact that he was there. And as a Georgia fan, I didn't have any hopes for him at all. So, I mean, he's not going to have any significance at all. And now it's just a matter of fact if is it already done or is it going to be a couple years down the line?
Right. Well,
but now I think going to the Patriots, who I think were in talks for Stephon Diggs to try and keep Tom Brady, and that's ultimately why I think the Bills did give up the capital they did because they were in direct. Maybe because of that, Tom Brady left, but here we are. It's now Tom and the Buccaneers, and he left Bill Belichick all alone with the Patriots up north, and I have a hard time having any kind of hope for the Patriots. I know you have them going over 500, but I think the loss of Brady's too much.
Away.
Even with,
the way to give it away.
Oh.
Sorry, continue.
I think the loss of Brady is too much. I think with what happened, it's just a direct viewpoint of how Bill Belichick views Jarrett Stidham. Because a couple of years ago, whenever they were trying to get rid of Tom, or Bill was trying to get rid of Tom and start Jimmy over him, he wanted Jimmy. He believed in Jimmy. Unless he wouldn't have tried to openly just ship Tom off. And Kraft came in, settled that issue, and now we're here. But with this, Brady was offered another contract with them to stay, which kind of tells me that he doesn't believe Jarrett Stidham at all. And I know they haven't made any kind of free agency move to get uh like a franchise quarterback or a starter quarterback like before Jameis got picked up. Cam is still out there. They did resign Brian Hoyer, which reports that he might even start week 1, which already tells me that, or just confirms that they don't believe in Jarrett Stidham at all. And even though they do have this fantastic and great defense, I just have little belief that they're going to be. Sony Michel had a pretty good rookie season, but then last year he's just Sony Shell. He's just a shell of himself, and maybe Damian Harris comes in and steps up. I don't believe it, and I know in the draft talks we possibly had them trading up, but they ultimately traded back to the second round. They took the Chargers second round pick, and they drafted the safety Kyle Duggar, and they also drafted Josh Uche, the edge. I can't pronounce the name correctly, which I think are great picks. But once again, they're still not going to be able to move the ball down the field. And given with this schedule that they have, I don't see it going well. I think they're going to go 5-11 and just above the Jets in the division. And add on top of that, they lost Calvin Noy and Jamie Collins, one of which went to Miami.
Yeah. See, the fact that I'm going to have to spend the next few minutes defending the Patriots is sickening. But here we are in 2020.
You want me to make you angry?
Do what?
You want me to make you angry?
Sure, go ahead.
28-3.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The Patriots, to me, are that one team, one of the few teams in the league, I'll say, that could either bomb or still be playoff bound. And I feel like it's going to be one of the two. I don't think they're going to end up like 7-9 or something. I feel like or like 8-8 or something. I feel like they're going to either be really bad or still the Patriots. And while I do have them taking a bit of a step back, as you alluded to, I have them going over 500 at 9-7. And the main reason is because despite the fact that they lost Jamie Collins and Kyle Van Noy, Danny Shelton is another one, I still have a lot of faith in their defense. Led by Stephon Gilmore and Hightower. I still think they're going to be a top 5 defense in this league. And offensively, I think Bill Belichick is going to want to focus on running the ball. And I know that Sony Michel did not have a great year last year. That entire offense did not have a good year. But I think with another year of Sony Michel, maybe Damian Harris comes in. James White is still in the fold, of course. And sees younger receivers like N'Keal Harry. I think they'll be able to show some improvement. I think the offensive line is still going to be fine. Hopefully improve a little bit because they weren't great last year either. I think the addition of Marquise Lee from the Jags cut, I think is going to be a very good pickup. If he is healthy, of course. But I think in the time that he was healthy, he was a very serviceable receiver. Sometimes put up wide receiver 1 numbers, so I think he'll be able to do very good. But yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a Jarrett Stidham believer, because I'm not. However, I think the fact that they did not take a quarterback in this draft says one of two things. Either one, they're tanking for a quarterback next year, or two, Bill Belichick does have faith in Jarrett Stidham. And I don't think I could ever see Bill Belichick tanking. It's hard enough for me to see a Patriots team that's not competitive. Even last year's team was not that great, and they were still the 3rd seed in the AFC. So I think, I don't really know how the AFC will shake out. I don't know if 9-7 is good enough for a playoff spot. I know they have that extra 7th seed now, so maybe that would be enough. But I do think the AFC is going to be competitive, so maybe 9-7 won't be enough. However, I do think they're going to be, you know, better than people expect. I don't think they're going to end up below 500. I think they're still going to be competitive in a lot of games. Um, but I think it's really just going to come down to establishing a running game and just letting that defense be the Patriots defense it's been for a long time. As much as I would love to be able to be like, oh yeah, they're gonna do terrible, they're gonna end up 4 of 12, and they're gonna pick up points in next year's draft. As much as I would love to say that they're gonna be terrible this year, I just have a feeling they're not. I think Bill Belichick is not gonna let them be bad. I think I think this will be, if they can make it to the playoffs, I think this will be one of his best coaching years in so long, because now he doesn't have Tom Brady. He's lost some big defensive pieces, and if he can have Jarrett Stidham of all quarterbacks leading his team and take them to the playoffs, I think that will be a highlight on his resume as a head coach.
I think this year is more vindicative on Bill Belichick than is Tom Brady. I think Brady's legacy is sealed, and I know it's sealed. But if the Patriots do fail, I think that kind of lowers the viewpoint on Bill as being like this absolutely great mastermind. Because ever since Tom Brady's came in, they've been this connected duo, right? But before then, Bill had zero success wherever he went. What happened with the Browns? Fired. He was a Jet. He was the head coach of the Jets for what, 30 minutes, and then with the Patriots, he went under 500 the first year and was well on that way again until the infamous Bledsoe injury, and then Brady came in, and now history is history. So I don't know exactly how much was Brady or Belichick or both, but I think there's a lot of questions surrounding Bill, and I think we're about to see some truth.
I agree with you. I mean, there's been a lot of arguments on both sides. Some people have said that Tom Brady is just a result of a good system, and other people have said that Bill Belichick wouldn't be where he is without Brady. And I think there's a middle ground. I think they both go hand in hand. One wouldn't have been as successful without the other. And I think, if Brady goes out with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and they go and head to the Super Bowl, I think it would be a lot less shocking than if the Patriots made it to the Super Bowl. Because if you look at the Buccaneers,
Without a doubt,
they've got one of the best wide receiver duos in the league, if not the best. They've got Rob Gronkowski there now. They've got an improved O-line with their draft pick. Their offense just looks absolutely loaded, and they have a solid defense. I think the you know the secondary is a little questionable, but in terms of the front seven, I think they've got a fantastic one. They got a great team there, and I think even if you just look at the roster, the Buccaneers roster is better than the Patriots roster right now. So I agree. I think the spotlight is on Bill Belichick. And hey, you don't have your top tier quarterback anymore. You don't have, as some say, the GOAT anymore. Can you still succeed? So it'll be very interesting to see how he does.
can I just go ahead and say that drafting a kicker before like round 7 is just stupid?
I agree with you. I don't really agree with taking a kicker or a punter before round 7. And at least at round 7, some people are still like, why would you do that at all in the draft? And I'm like, come on, it's a 7th round pick. Like, they barely work out anyways. And if you think about it, if you pick up a punter or a kicker in the 7th, they're probably a starter.
Yeah, they're
So
probably going to hit.
yeah, so you got a starter in the 7th round. But yeah, in the 5th, and can we all just laugh about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a few years ago? Roberto Aguero in the 2nd round. Oh man, good times, good times.
I remember when Tampa was bad. Now it's us.
Oh, don't remind me. Uh, uh,
Well, that leaves us with one more. Probably one of the biggest offseason in recent history.
I agree. I mean, this next team is one of one that has vastly improved in an offseason. A team that, after looking through their roster, I could see as a possible fringe playoff team if everything goes right. And this is the
Which should
Miami
be
Dolphins.
hard given the offseason.
Yeah. So the Dolphins it's just interesting because the entire season last year, what was the motto? Tank for Tua, tank for Tua, tank for Tua. And everyone expected the Dolphins to get the first round pick or first overall pick. That didn't happen because the Bengals were so much worse than people expected. But Tua Tagovailoa just drops all the way to fifth, and tank for Tua is confirmed, as people said. But even going before them getting their potential franchise quarterback, their offseason additions in free agency, fantastic. They got Byron Jones, top tier corner from the Cowboys. As you alluded to earlier, they got Cal Van Noy from the Patriots. You know, it's always great to steal from a division rival. They got Shaq Lawson from the Bills. And then there's a bunch of other smaller guys that I think will be able to make an impact. Eric Flowers they got to help improve that O-line. Emmanuel Ogba I think will be a good rotation piece. They got Jordan Howard too. From he's with the Eagles.
He was with Philly last year.
Yeah. So they got him. And then who was it that they got in the draft they traded for with the 49ers? The running
You mean
back?
the tackle?
No, the running back. They traded with
Don't
the
know that one.
49ers.
Oh no. Okay. I was thinking they drafted one, but no, they got Matt Breida.
Matt Brady, yeah. So, I mean, just all of them. And then if you go into the draft itself, obviously they got Tua. They got Austin Jackson in the middle of the first round, who I think is a guy that he is a bit more of a project, but I think he's got very good potential if things work out. Noah
Yeah, if
Igbenogany,
any of their picks said this one was the reach.
yes. I do like his potential, but I think he's going to need some seasoning. Noah Igbenogany was a little confusing to me because, you know, they got Byron Jones now. They have Xavier Howard. And Noah is, I guess, it's just another corner that I don't think they needed. I didn't really get that pick.
Well, I think this is depth, but also again youth because Xavier Howard is kind of injury prone, and he did have a domestic violence charge against him. He's looking at facing penalties.
Yeah, I
So I
guess.
think that might be why.
I would have liked them to go, like, I would have liked Denzel Mims at this spot, to be honest. You know, another receiver for that group. But, you know, they had a great offseason, so I can't really complain with much. If that's what I'm complaining about, obviously they must have had a good offseason.
Mm-hmm.
In the following rounds, they got Robert Hunt, the guard. Again, more improvement for that O-line. And then late, they got Curtis Weaver. I think went a lot later than expected. I think he'll be a very nice player. But yeah, and then when you look at their losses, the Dolphins didn't lose much. I mean, their biggest losses that I could find was Rashad Jones and Aqib Talib, who I think both are currently unsigned. So technically, they could bring them back if they really wanted to. But if your two biggest losses were two aging players, and with what they got in the offseason, I think, like you said, they're probably one of the most, if not the most, improved team this offseason.
Can we just applaud them for having like the absolute best smokescreen that I think we've seen in NFL history? Just it felt like for every week during this offseason, it was just, oh, Miami, favoring Herbert over to oh, the whole room is 50-50 on them. We don't know. Oh, you know what? We're probably going to trade back. We don't really need a quarterback. We're going to see what we have in Josh Rosen. It just seemed like every day, every hour, there was just a new report being leaked, and they just formed this giant smokescreen that had everything confused. And I think that was a huge part of not having to trade up to get Tua. And I think that might have scared off the Chargers of even attempting that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there were, like you said all those. Some people were saying they would probably take a tackle instead of a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, to me, in my mind, them not taking Tua, like with how the entire offseason went for Tank for Tua and everything, would have just been off. Like it wouldn't have made sense to me. So
Wouldn't it just felt like you were wronged or just robbed? It would have just felt awful.
Right. So I think they got their guy. I think Tua was their guy the whole time. I think they got him. I think they had a great offseason. Uh, One question though that I kind of wanted to throw your way with the Dolphins is they got Tua now. They still have Ryan Fitzpatrick, so if they don't want Tua to start immediately, you know,
Dang it, you beat me to it.
Fitzpatrick is there. So I guess there's really two questions, and I don't know which one is yours. My first one though is, what do they do with Josh Rosen?
Okay, well, I think you and I are agreeing on this. I think I think Josh Rosen might be lucky to even have another chance to have a starting position at this point. But I think you just try to ship him off and just see what other teams are offering for him. And obviously, if you get any kind of capital, you take it. And if not, you have quarterback depth. You have, I mean, there is injury concern with Tua coming off the hip injury, and Ryan Fitzpatrick is old. So ultimately, I think you're sitting pretty good. You try to ship him off. If you're not able to, then you're still happy of having him as a backup.
Yeah, I gotta say, I feel pretty sorry for Josh Rosen because I think he's a better quarterback than people are making him out to be. I know he hasn't done much in his opportunities, but people forget that the two teams he has been on has been a horrendous Arizona Cardinals team, which had a terrible roster at the time, and then a very bad Dolphins team who had a terrible roster at the time. Both
Mm-hmm.
teams who had no O line. So, like, I don't think he needs to go straight into another starting spot. I think he needs to go to like maybe the Colts, who have Philip Rivers right now on a 1 year deal, or another aging quarterback like the Steelers or something. Go to a place where they have an established starter, learn from them, sit on the bench and just learn the game better. Don't worry about having to be a starter, be a solid backup, and just take time to learn. I think he can be a good quarterback in this league. I just think he needs an opportunity not to be a starter, but just to be able to have the opportunity to learn. And I think if he goes to a different team like that, he'll have that chance.
Well, I think my next question, and maybe you were about to ask me about when do you think Tua starts?
Okay. So I think it depends on the medical, obviously. When, teams are able to, you know, converse more, especially between team personnel and players, go through with Tua, figure out how good really is that hip. And I think with the way the Dolphins are now, yes, their roster improved a lot, but based off of how the contracts are set out, a lot of them are long-term deals where I think they're more projecting not the first year of these deals, but like the second and third year. Let's compete. So I think in this
Mm-hmm.
first year, they're not really expecting to compete. So if Tua is not ready to start right away, whether it be health or maybe it's just learning the playbook a little bit more, because, I mean, take his health out of the way, there's still a giant coronavirus going around. So it may take him longer, along with all the other rookies, to learn the playbook. They might not be able to get the on field reps depending on how, team facilities, as they're starting to open up now, but, just how that process goes going forward. I think you could see Fitzpatrick start a few games. If I had to put, just a spot on it, I'm gonna say week 4 or 5. I could see Tua getting in there.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone knows Fitzmagic has like 1 or 2 games a year where he's gonna go off, and then he's gonna come back to earth and throw like 4 picks in a game. So I think, they might be solid in the beginning. Let Tua creep in a little bit, and by week 4 or 5, I think he'll become the full-time starter.
I think you and I have like the exact same like thoughts on this, but I had a okay. So here's the opening schedule for the Dolphins, and if we're both thinking that Fitzpatrick is going to start, right? So the Dolphins beating the Patriots, losing to the Bills, so that's 1-1. Then they beat the Jaguars, so they're 2-1, right? and you're thinking, okay, Fitzpatrick, we'll just hold this out a little bit longer. Then they lose to the Seahawks, 2-2, lose to the 49ers, 2-3. And maybe that's when the point it starts happening. And my actual date was October 25th against the Chargers, Herbert and Tua.
Hey, that'd be cool.
That's a little bit of like any kind of professional analyst that can give, but it's also like what I want to see. Like how perfect would it be if Herbert and Tua were starting at that point?
Yeah, I think both Fitzpatrick and Tyrod Taylor for the Chargers have a short leash. I think both teams want their first round picks to play, if not immediately, soon into the season. But yeah, I think that'd be a prime spot, especially because like the Chargers, I think are a better team than their record showed last year, but they're still, I don't think, one of the top teams in the league. So I think both ways, that's a good, chance for their quarterbacks to get a first start.
And that game is going to be in Miami. That's going to be that's going to be an awful place for Herbert. Just saying, Miami's got their guy. They love him.
Man, I can only imagine like the first Tua's name gets called out or they see him running onto the field with the starting unit, that place is gonna erupt.
It's going to be beautiful.
It
I'm
is.
glad Miami's got their guy. When's the last time they've had a guy? Dan Marino?
I mean, probably, yeah. Like I know some expected for Ryan Fitzpatrick or not Ryan or Ryan Tannehill, sorry.
Your boy in Tennessee.
Not my boy.
Not my QB.
No thank you. They expected Ryan Tannehill to be the guy. I never loved Tannehill. I thought he was fine. Like currently, right now in the Tennessee Titans, I think he's fine. I don't think he's worth the contract he just signed, but I think he's okay. He's average. I don't think he's a savior. I think Tua can finally be that quarterback they've been desperately missing for so many years, really like since Dan Marino, to finally help them get back to the playoffs and be able to succeed in the playoffs.
Do you think Devontae Parker is going to repeat what he had in the second half of last year?
I think he can. I mean, especially considering, the whole Michael Thomas, Devontae Parker dispute, I think Parker's going to come in with a chip on his shoulder. And, I mean, seeing Parker and Tua going at it, Tua throwing some deep shots to Parker, I think is going to be awesome to watch.
And with that concludes our episode. We covered the whole AFC East.
Yep, and next episode we'll be going to the NFC to discuss the NFC East. So that'll be fun.
Got any closing statements for me?
Not really. I think if I had to say anything, I think the biggest wild card in this division is just how the Patriots are truly going to do.
You know what? We almost forgot something. Dolphins record.
Oh, of course. Well, let's go ahead while we're at it. To close it, let's go ahead and just go through the predictions for all our teams. So if you want to start going from the bottom to the top.
Going from the bottom to the top. All right. In last place of the AFC East, we have gangrene New York Jets, 4-12.
I'm with you on that one. I have the Jets 5-11, but I also have them in last place.
Okay, then who's your third?
In third, I have the Dolphins. I think they're going to be a much improved team. I got them going 7-9. I could see that being better, but just my early prediction, I'm going 7-9, third place.
Did you know that I also have the Dolphins going 7-9? But they're going to be second. I have third going to the Patriots at 5-11. And obviously Dolphins 7-9.
Well, my 2 seed, I've got the Patriots going 9-7. It's barely going over.
God, this is gonna be my favorite. This is gonna be one of my favorite competitions this year between us.
Yeah, this is gonna be very interesting to see how that unfolds. Also, I just want to make this very clear. This is the extremely early predictions for us in all of our episodes. we're gonna probably make another one similar to this when it gets closer to the season. So
Yeah, we gotta have a finalized one like after everything settles.
right. So please, if like let's say the Patriots go terrible and go like 3-13, don't come back and say, "Ooh, on June 8th, Jonah said that the Patriots are gonna go 9-7. He was so wrong." Like it's June. There's a long way to go. I'll make a different one like in August. Don't hate me yet.
And
But
obviously, but for both of us, Bills. But I have them going 10-6.
and I have them going 11-5. So at least we both have the division winner being the same.
And I think almost everyone's going to agree with that.
Yeah, I mean,
Even Vegas is agreeing with us.
I think it's very easy to say that this division, at least outside looking in, it's the Bills to lose.
Yeah, and I kind of feel bad because I feel like this is a open chance for the Bills, Jets, and Dolphins to really take a step forward. But I think we both have them going under 500. But I got to say, though, the future is bright. Maybe not so much for the Patriots, maybe. But between the Dolphins, Jets, and Bills, you've got to be happy at this moment.
I agree. I think unless something drastic happens with the Patriots, I think we're about to see this division get a lot more competitive and division winners changing a lot in the coming years.
All right, and that will be where we end our episode for the day.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of JJ Talks, and we will see y'all next time.